All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're doing exactly what we do best, summarizing one of the absolute best books out there to give you a more open mind and, frankly, a much better life. We are diving headfirst into Patrick Lencioni's paradigm-shifting masterclass, The Motive. Look, if you want to understand the true core of executive success and just strip away all that corporate noise, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into it.
I've got to start with a really bold question for you right now. Why do you want to be a leader? No, seriously, think about it. Is it for the title, that corner office, the control? You have to be incredibly honest with yourself here, because the answer to this single defining question literally dictates whether your team is going to thrive or completely and utterly fail.
So let's dive right into Section 1, Brian's story and the illusion of power.
Take our case study, Brian. He's a newly minted CEO, and he represents a trap that so many ambitious professionals fall straight into, seeing leadership as a prize. He viewed this shiny new promotion purely as a well-deserved reward for all of his past hard work. He honestly thought he had finally crossed the finish line, and now, well, it was simply time to kick back and reap the benefits.
Brian was fueled by a set of fundamentally flawed desires. He wanted greater power, he wanted higher status, and, of course, more money. It was this toxic, totally self-serving cocktail of motives that had absolutely nothing to do with actually guiding a team to victory.
And here's where the hammer drops. The result? Organizational failure. When you're just chasing personal gain at the very top of the pyramid, it ultimately paralyzes the entire company. The problems start compounding, the culture rots from the inside out, and performance just tanks. And why? All because the leader is only looking out for number one.
Which brings us to Section 2. Two types of motivation and the paradigm shift we desperately need.
Lencioni introduces this core framework, where you really have to categorize your mindset into one of two distinct paths. On the left side, we have the reward-centered leader, driven entirely by power, fame, and personal gain. This was Brian at the start, right? But over on the right side, we have the responsibility-centered leader, driven by service, support, and growing others. The hard truth? You cannot be both. You have to choose one path.
Let's move to Section 3, Sacrifice and the True Cost of Leadership.
To really understand this shift, we need to completely move away from raw ambition and talk about solemn duty. Becoming a leader isn't a vacation. It's a heavy, unrelenting responsibility. So here is your responsibility blueprint. These are 4 non-negotiable daily duties of a true leader. Number 1, you've got to make the hard, uncomfortable decisions. Number 2, you actively help your employees grow. Number 3, you meticulously create a healthy organizational culture. And number 4, you always prioritize the team's interests over your own. You really have to treat each of these like a vital rule for survival in the business world.
It all boils down to this perfectly concise summary. Servant, not ruler. The absolute best managers out there, they view themselves as servants to their teams. They aren't kings of a castle sitting comfortably on some throne. No way. They are down in the trenches making absolutely sure their people have exactly what they need to win.
Lencioni puts it so beautifully here. He says, true leadership begins when we consider the interests of others more important than our own. I mean, let that sink in for a second. That realization right there is the fundamental turning point in any executive's career.
And finally, Section 4, the main goal, which is serving others.
Let's bring the narrative right back to our case study, Brian. What actually happens to the practical business results when a CEO drops their ego and adopts this servant mindset? Well, it creates this incredible chronological domino effect. In Phase 1, the focus shifts from self to others. In Phase 2, because of that shift, trust rapidly increases across the entire board. And by Phase 3, team performance simply explodes. It's a direct, undeniable cause and effect.
So, the absolutely crucial takeaway from our explainer today is simple. Leadership is a commitment, it is not a prize. The illusion of management tells you it's a reward to make your life easier. But the reality of leadership, it tells you it's an unwavering commitment to making other people's lives better. It all leads to this ultimate thesis. The best leaders aren't those with the most power, but those who take the most responsibility for others. Look, if your goal is just power or status, you're going to end up hurting yourself and your organization. But if you lead with the pure intention to serve, you are going to leave a lasting, incredibly successful impact.
I'm turning the spotlight right back onto you to close this out. What is your true motive today? Are you in it for the reward, or are you in it for the responsibility?
I want you to think really deeply about that before your very next meeting. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep pushing forward.